Good evening, y'all. Sure appreciate all of y'all coming tonight for this presentation and a little bit of an explanation as to the issues facing the Oakshire neighborhood. Uh, I'm Clayton Warzan, for those of you who don't know. I'm the councilman here in District 3. We got quite a few people here at the table. If y'all would grab the mic and turn it on, I'll let y'all just introduce yourselves.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I'm Jason Bergeron, Parish President.
I'm Noah Lira, the Chief Administrative Officer.
And I'm David Rome, the Public Works Director.
Brian Bouquet, Pollution Control Administrator.
Jamie Branch, Pollution Control Collections Superintendent.
Thank you all for coming. We'll go ahead and start the slides. So pollution control needs access to the existing servitudes, which are currently obstructed by the property owner's fences. Some of the servitudes have structures built on them, such as sheds, flower beds, screen porches, etc. Potential necessary repairs may involve point repairs on gravity mains, manhole restorations or elevation adjustments, CIPP, which is cured in place pipe linings, and fixing damaged service connections. Without access to the gravity system, it would be virtually impossible to identify where the infiltration is entering into the system. So what this part means is there's an infiltration into the sewage system, which is causing the issue. And in order for pollution control to be able to determine exactly where the problem areas are, their issue is having access to it because the servitudes have been infiltrated. Okay? So just a simple explanation as to what was just read. So you can see in this photo, the two cones represent the servitude, which run like this. So the edge of this servitude going that way is the cone. The edge of it here, which is 10 foot from cone to cone, runs that way. So I think that's pretty obvious that the servitude has been infiltrated. And that is where the drainage, the sewage line is, running on that servitude. And it shows here the manhole is under the fence. You can see the shed, the fence, a couple of fences. Pretty obvious, right? Of course, same thing here. Servitude line. Obvious, right? Manhole right at the fence for the sewage system. So very, very difficult and virtually impossible to work on. Here's a pretty good one. You can see the servitude from cone to cone. You can see where the manhole is. Fence, shed, fence. Another good example. Pretty good one here. Manhole is under the fence. Servitude. Another real nice one. A full porch on the servitude. And once again, you can see how narrow the servitude that is there is. So equipment that is necessary for them to even get in there is virtually impossible because there's just not enough room for them to pass. And here you can see a aerial view, and it kind of gives you a pretty good idea as to the yellow lines being the servitude, right? So you can see things from an aerial view that are built onto the servitude. And same thing here, that the dotted lines are the servitude. I mean, pollution control guys, they even got a place to go swimming on the servitude with a pool. Next. Yeah. So what are the key obstacles? Of course, y'all saw it for y'all with y'all own eyes, right? Fences, sheds, pools, trees. So why is it important to maintain a clear servitude so that all utilities can get to and repair all services quickly and without obstacles? You know, a lot of these servitudes actually have power lines running on them. So, you know, there may be some cases where you're like, man, why is it taking them so long to get the power back on? Well, this could definitely be a big factor in that. Lack of access. Lack of access. Anything else? So at this point, does anybody have any questions as to what we just covered as far as servitude? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I'm glad you said that, because we have to make a decision. Now, obviously, the parish has the legal right to go tear it down. You're exactly right. Yes, sir. You exactly right. You exactly right. You exactly right. I gamble every now and then, and that's a bet that I would make, that there was no permit ever for whatever that is, right? And look, this is a major reason I really wanted to do this, because what our idea is that we have discussed, and it's not written in stone by no means yet, but it's probably the best route. And that is basically to identify the addresses that have infiltrated the servitude and send out letters. And basically it's going to have a deadline for you to move your property off of the servitude, to give people that opportunity, right? Because obviously people can do it themselves much cheaper than if the parish does it and sends them a bill. Because that's what would happen, right? The parish just isn't going to pay to move it and just eat it. Well, that's a good question. We hadn't came up with a number or a date.
Great point. Oh, sorry, I thought I had a big enough mouth. You made a great point about the permits, right? So that is definitely going to be the first step that we going to do, is review who does and who does not have permits. However, Oakshire is one of the older subdivisions, and the permitting process did not start until the late 90s or so. So most of these structures probably predate that. Right. So in 1962 was when this subdivision was built and that infrastructure was laid down. I've been with the parish for 13 years, and I started with these guys in pollution control, and one of the first things we had was to come and we had stoppages that we could not repair in Oakshire. And the issue has been is it's not just an infrastructure thing, right? It's a political thing. Who wants to go and tell their neighbors, hey, you got to move off the right-of-way, right? And it's been very difficult for us to get that kind of support from the administration and that kind of support from the council. Okay, look, that is why we're here today, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. Absolutely. No, and so yes, the answer to your question, I cannot speak for anybody else, but I am not going to wait 5 years to let you flush your toilet for 5 people in that house. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I totally get that. I think this is a problem that we have y'all support, we have administration support, we have the council support. I've been supporting it for 13 years now, so let's do it. Let's get it done. And I think with President Bergeron and with Mr. Voisin, I think we have a lot of irons in the fire to fund this. So there's never been a time, at least in my career here with TPCG, where we were this close to actually solving this problem. And Brian's been with the parish longer than I have, in with pollution control, and he knows and can attest to the issues. And it's not like we don't want to take care of it. It just the stars kind of have to align for things like this, and those stars have aligned. And it's not going to get cheaper either. Nothing. That's the first thing. My background was not in construction or anything like that. I was in emergency management, and I was a law enforcement officer for 14 years before I decided to come do this fun stuff, which is much funner. But the important thing is nothing gets cheaper if we don't fix it now. It's going to cost 20% in 5 years. Okay, I have not ever seen a project get cheaper over the time. The plan that we have for this area, Mr. Voisin talked about the CIPP, which is cast in place pipe. It's very effective. We've used it throughout the parish, and it's made for that clay pipe, for that VCP, vitrified clay pipe is what it's officially called. But it's made specifically for that because it goes in and it's a balloon. It's a 400-foot balloon that's about 8 inches in diameter, and it's got fiberglass and epoxy resin embedded in it, and it blows through the pipe, and they expand it with steam to cure it, and then it cures itself in place, and then they go back with a robot and cut holes into y'all sewer system so it just goes right in. You got a brand new pipe, and we don't have to dig it up. That is what we're trying to avoid. But remember, these balloons are only 400 feet, right? We got to go between each one of those manholes and get to those manholes with a really big truck with really big balloons. So that is what our goal is for that. Nope. Everybody's going to have to get off of it because one of the problems that we're having is we can't even find the manholes now. There's one case, and I hope I don't offend anybody in here, but there's one case where someone built over a manhole and their manhole is in their garage. Okay. Thank you. Are you looking for a job? Because look, man, I got some openings. Right.
Or it happened before permit, that problem.
Yes, that I would imagine that is an unpermanent situation, and again, we're not talking about one or two. We're talking about several dozen that we're trying to tackle with that, and that's why we appreciate Mr. Voisin's help with coming, sit down, and having these conversations with y'all.
And a lot of these residents probably bought the house exactly in this situation, and they had no idea, I would estimate, a majority of them, they might not even know there was a servitude in that area. So we're just trying to get the word out that there is a servitude, and we'd like to answer any questions, show the servitudes, and we can show what's on there. See if you guys can help us out.
Yeah, Nick is here with us too. He just didn't want to come sit up here. Yeah, there is some sewage. I mean, same thing with your gravity drainage. These subdivisions, part of it, there's a ridge area, so there's part of it that does go towards Park Avenue, but the majority of the sewer and the majority of your rainwater all comes to the back. Yes, sir. I truly appreciate that. Yes, sir. No, that absolutely. We were talking about that. Oh yes, let's fix it.
We also we can do smoke tests and things like that, and we've done one in you guys' area on some areas that we could access, and we did find some problems on the resident side and our side. We repaired the ones that we could access, but some of them were on the resident side too. So you could help out by covering up your cleanouts, but also we had some gutters tied into the sewer systems, so. That's the kind of things we want to find, but to access everything, to be able to smoke test the entire system, we need access to each manhole also.
Right. So what we plan on doing, and we're still kind of working through the weeds on this, is being able to help educate the homeowners as to exactly how we say, well, that's our servitude. Because look, before I bought 3 houses in my entire life, right? The first 2, I never knew what a servitude was, right? It wasn't until I bought my second one after I was public works director for a few years and said, hey, that's something I need to look into. So I went to the courthouse, looked at the maps and all. Most people don't do that. That's totally understandable, right? But what we do want to do is additional town halls like this, especially once those letters go out to them saying, hey, this is what the situation is, come talk to us. And I have a feeling that we're going to have a whole lot more in this audience when those conversations start having. The important thing is that we continue to have those conversations and help people understand that this isn't the parish's fault, and we're not saying it's their fault, because chances are they never knew. They never put that there, or built the addition of their house onto the servitudes. So we want to educate people and help them. We understand what we're asking for, but it's the reason why we're asking, because I think one of the fundamental rights as an American is to be able to flush your toilet, even if it's raining. After we're done here, I've been on that, like, one of my top priorities. So one of our favorite words to talk about, unfortunately, in this area is surcharge. Okay, that's our word of the day. Surcharge is when a pipe hits its capacity and it starts looking to go anyway through cracks, through up services, up your toilet, up your bathtub. That's surcharge. What happens is a lot of groundwater is getting in. So that is ultimately what the problem is. That pipe that was laid many years ago is cracked and crushed and all from trees and just not being able to be accessed, and that groundwater is getting in there. So let's just use, and he probably actually knows the real numbers, but we're not going to get into that. But let's just say there's usually 100 gallons in a section of sewer, right? From people flushing toilets, taking baths, using their washing machine, right? But it's raining outside, so there's an extra 600 gallons in that pipe, but it's only got 500 capacity. So that's surcharge. We'll talk about your drainage. I'm very familiar with it. I've seen all the pictures, and no, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll definitely talk about it, and we'll help you in every way we can with that. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? The sewer pipe, it's 8 inches. Yeah, 8 inches, which is the common size for sewer, is 8 inches. And they're, 4-foot sections. So, yeah, the VCP is 4-foot sections. So every 4 feet you have, a piece of tar where they slot into each other. So there's no doubt there's a root that's got in there and broke it off, or it's separated, or whatever. We're going to try everything creatively to be as non-invasive as possible, but we don't know until we actually get there. Anything's possible.
Yeah, these are the gravity mains, so basically serve block one off, block everybody. Yeah, it's not the services.
I don't think a bigger pipe would actually help the problem, because that just means more groundwater can get into it, right? So what we want to do is stop the groundwater getting in, and 8 inches is plenty enough if there's no groundwater getting into that sewer system. That's why we're not just stopping at CIPP, okay? So we have some irons in the fire where there's a lift station, and a lift station is like a pump station but for sewer. And there's a wet well, right? So what happens is you flush your toilet and it goes down the gravity line through the manholes, all that other stuff, and dumps into the wet well, right? And then the wet well has a pump in it, and then that pushes it somewhere else. In this area, it goes to Oakshire Holden Basin, where there's another lift station there, and it picks it up and pumps it to the North Treatment Plant off of St. Louis Canal Road. So one of our plans to also not just say we're going to do the CIPP, we're also going to upgrade that wet well. We're going to give it more capacity. We're going to upgrade those pumps to make them pump more efficiently, faster, and give us more time. Because sewer and drainage is really boils down to the same thing, time. If I can buy an hour worth of rain and y'all can continue flushing your toilets, then we won, right? And that is the game plan.
So yeah, y'all understand everything he's saying, right? And that's why we're here tonight. That hopefully we can get support from all of you to help us with your neighbor and your friends and family and people in the neighborhood that y'all know that may unfortunately be on the servitudes without even knowing, possibly, right? Uh, and let your neighbors know how, if they're not affected by this from a sewage standpoint, how you are, and how you infiltrating the servitude is preventing the parish from repairing the problem that's causing all our issues. Uh, I would hope one thing that don't change in this country is neighbors, right? Neighbors caring about their neighbors, right? If there's something, sir. Well, and look, we still in Terrebonne Parish, though, and I still believe in it from that standpoint for the most part, right? I think the majority of the people here are still that way, thank God. Uh, but it's to get the word out to folks. And heck, maybe people would correct that issue on their own before they ever receive a letter from the parish. If they knew that, right? If they knew that. So it was just the reason for this is to inform y'all as to exactly what pollution control has done to this point, which they pretty much at the end. I mean, what they've done is pretty much what they can do at this point. And to make y'all aware of this and to give you visual aids so that it's very clear as to what they're facing from a repair standpoint. Should be able to. Absolutely. And it's going to be on the Terrebonne Parish website. Yeah, so they'll probably put it on the Terrebonne Parish website, and if they make it shareable, I should be able to put it on there. Thank you for saying that, though. Good idea. Yes, sir. And something else that pollution control did, they put a couple of markers here in the park. I think they're green, correct? Those two markers in the park mark the servitude. So so you could stand right there in the park where those two markers are and just look down. And I mean, it's obvious. Uh, yeah, I'm sure some are just minimal, right? But moving a fence is moving a fence, whether it's a foot or 5 feet. I mean, it's still moving a fence. Absolutely.
how we found that water. And we were sucking a lot of groundwater. We found 6 spots in the park, fixed all those. So all those are fixed. But like if I have to access that hole again, still under the fence, they had a flower bed on top. But if I have to access that, I still have to go through somebody's yard. I still can't get all my equipment to do everything. We didn't do all that myself.
Well, that would be up to them if we have to do it, you saying? So it's a 10-foot. Well, of course, they're gonna.
We can help you. I mean, if you want to do that now, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to come out there and give you a hand and assist you. The only caveat that I do give with that is we're not licensed surveyors, so we can say, hey, this is where the line is, but if you don't believe us, you're going to have to hire a surveyor, right? Now, once we start moving forward with this project, which I think as this year goes on, we're going to get more and more traction, simply because with some of the funding sources look very good, very solid in short term. So we'll be able to get a consultant, an engineering consultant, who will start doing survey work, and they're the ones who are going to come out and say, this is on the servitude, this is on the servitude, and they're going to identify those targets for us before we send the letters. So there'll be some that we'll definitely communicate as we go down the line with that. Yep. And if you look, I'm sorry. Enforce. Because they have to have a permit to do that. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
That's important too, because things like that do require a permit, but we're also not in everybody's backyard every day watching them rebuild their fence either, right? So it does take communication from the neighbors, and that's the whole point of this meeting, is to ask y'all to help us identify issues and support those measures we're going to have to take, and maybe even ask your neighbors to kind of get ahead of that too. But yes, they have to get a fence permit to build a fence. And I promise you, in 2025, if they're building a fence on a servitude, they don't have a permit.
So pollution control definitely got a challenge ahead of them. But as I'm sure y'all all aware of, a project like this, once we are able to access and identify the issues and repair it, you can only imagine the cost of that, right? So administration's got a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the financial aspects of this as well. We've been pretty fortunate in one way. Representative Zarang, I'd reached out to him. He shared some information as to where there may be some grant money for a project similar to this. And I know the administration has been really proactive on this if they want to address the funding and things of that nature for a project like this. I'll let the administration.
I can tell you that overall in the state, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, it's water and sewer. Across the state, they figure it to be about $60 billion worth of projects, right? And so when we can maybe do this project for say 100,000 if we had right of ways, but because we don't, we're gonna have to tear things down. It's gonna cost us $300,000. You know, we're collecting taxes to $100,000, not at $300,000. And so, as we navigate through this, this is not the only area. This is not the only issue. You know, we are working with doing a wastewater study with CBGR funds and we got into something called the DRA, Delta Regional Authority, which offers another opportunity for funding. We have water sector grants. I mean, we have a lot of funding opportunities. Some of those require a match, some of those don't. But at the end of the day, it's the first step is getting access. We're having the same problem with even trying to get some ditches cut. You know, so not only from a sewage perspective, but a vegetation perspective, we got that same issue. So we might have to pay a team of people to go into a ditch and cut that, whereas it costs us 2 to 3 times the cost that it normally would if we didn't have this issue. So. So first, we're going to make sure there's an ordinance that allows that to happen. Secondly, say it falls under nuisance and abatement. Well, that process can take 6 months. So we can go through that process. We can charge the person. If they don't pay it, we go to a lien. We could take so you're looking at to do some of that stuff legally. If we did it through the condemnation or blight or whatever that, whatever process would apply, then you got those time frames you have to deal with, the notification and all those other things. So it's like, okay, we could do it, but now it might take a year to get to the point where we can actually get in there and start doing the work. So we got to make sure we follow all the rules and do everything we're supposed to do, because if we don't, we get sued. That stops the whole project.
A lot faster if we work together, right? Neighbors, PCG, identify the problem, just together.
This is not going to be a one and done project. This is going to be a multi-year, multi-million-dollar repair. No, that's not how Terrebonne usually does it. Okay, now we'll use West Side Boulevard as an example, right? All the drainage work that has been going on there. There's one phase that's still kind of out there. We're going to be able to knock out each phase as we do it, right? But the lift station improvements are going to be done separate from the CIPP, right? Some of the CIPP may have to be done separately as well. But what our game plan is to approach it from a methodical way, to where you will gradually, no matter how little, what the repairs that they have been doing, people have been seeing improvements, right? So as long as we keep on this, and y'all have our commitment that we are going to keep on this until we can have a rain event and flush the toilet. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, Joe, in reference to the servitudes and sewage issues? Everybody pretty much understands, right, what we're talking about. If you have any questions at all, please.